Have you ever been on a roller coaster, seen the giant sign that says keep hands and feet inside the car at all times, and then immediately look around and see everyone throwing their arms up in the air like they're at a Beyoncé concert? Yeah, that was me too. It feels like half the park is going crazy and the other half is like, I like having arms, thanks. But here's the twist. On some roller coasters, putting your hands up in the air is totally fine. And on others, you genuinely should not. Not because the park hates you having fun, but because of something called a clearance envelope. And today we're diving into what that actually is, why it matters, and why some coasters really don't want you testing your wingspan. Thinking back, I can remember the first time I rode a classic old school wooden coaster. I threw my hands up in the air, feeling brave, and suddenly felt a support beam whoosh past my hands. It didn't actually hit my hands, but it was definitely close enough to make my brain freak out. And of course, I wasn't actually in any danger, right? Right? Well, that depends on the ride. So, what actually is a clearance envelope? Well, a clearance envelope is basically the invisible bubble around a roller coaster train that riders should never be able to reach through. Think of it as your roller coaster's personal space. If your hand can poke through that invisible boundary and touch a support beam at 70 miles an hour, well, you're gonna have a pretty bad time. However, modern rides are designed so that riders can't reach anything critical, even if they stretch out like a professional NBA player trying to grab a rebound. But older rides, let's just say safety standards used to be more like suggestions. Going back into the early 1900s, coasters weren't very fast. No inversions, no mega drops, and no real airtime to launch you into orbit. Riders were literally just told, hold on to the bar and good luck. Restraints, they barely existed, and clearance envelopes, they weren't really a thing. And because coasters were smaller and slower, designers didn't really worry too much about your arm making accidental contact with a support. But as coasters got taller and faster, and especially in the 70s steel revolution, it became obvious. People have arms. Arms move and supports don't. Not a great combination. So when steel coasters started going upside down, designers realized riders needed real restraints. Cue the invention of the over-shoulder restraint, partly for safety and partly for limiting how far your arms can flail around like the inflatable tube men. With that being said, trains started getting deeper sides, higher walls and closed-in seats. This physically prevented you from reaching out, adding a built-in clearance envelope. And as time progressed and we fast forward into the 2000s, the American Society for Testing and Materials stepped in. They said, hey, maybe we should standardize how far humans can reach out on rides so nobody high-fives the support beams. And they added in the rule, clearance must extend 3 inches beyond the maximum rider's reach. Well, who's the maximum rider, I hear you ask? Well, basically, it's that 10-foot tall man that stands in front of you at a concert. With that maximum rider strategy, engineers use those measurements when modeling rides. And before a coaster even ever runs, they attach a clearance frame to the train and literally drag it through the whole layout. This is called a pull-through test, and if the frame hits anything, it's back to the drawing board. But now, this is where it gets fun. Designers love making you think that you're going to hit something. Ever heard of a head chopper? That's when the ride swoops past a beam or through a tunnel so close that your brain goes dark. Or a foot chopper. Think of inverted coasters like Nemesis Reborn at Alton Towers, as it swoops down and your feet feel like they're gonna graze the ground. And wing coasters? They're the kings at threading the needle. Think of the swarm at Thorpe Park as you dive through the billboards. Your instincts tell you to duck, but the engineering says you're fine. But even with all this modern safety, some roller coasters still require you to keep your hands down. Why? Because their clearance envelope is too tight. Some examples of these include old wooden coasters and classic looping rides with low overhead steel. On these rides, your arms could get a little too friendly with the supports. So the rules are clear. Hands down, don't test physics, because physics will win. And now, this is where it gets a little spicy. Sometimes, even if a ride passes the safety standards, the riders don't. Some coaster trains simply can't accommodate very tall guests safely inside the clearance envelope. An example of this is the swarm at Thorpe Park. Unfortunately, if your arms or legs extend outside the intended envelope, you could theoretically reach something that you're not supposed to. So the park isn't discriminating against tall people, they're just trying to protect themselves and their riders. So, can you put your hands up on a roller coaster? The real answer. On most modern coasters, yes. Put your hands up, scream, wave, and pretend you're flying. The trains are designed for it, the restraints are designed for it, and the clearance envelope is also designed for it. But on older rides, or rides with tight clearances, or rides that explicitly say hands down, maybe don't. It's not that the rules are dramatic, it's that the engineering is so precise. So there you have it, the real reason why some roller coasters want you to have your hands down and others let you wave them around like you just don't care. If you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up because it helps us a lot. And if you're new here, hit subscribe and join the That Coaster Crew community. And with that being said, there's just one thing left to say. Ride fast, scream loud, and keep on rolling with That Coaster Crew.